even if that positive thing is, I'm still alive, I survived,
right?
I'm still here fighting. That's a huge positive.
Yeah.
I'm a person who's battled, some self,
like depression and shit.
Well, it was self.
Image?
No, diagnosed. Self-diagnosed. Some depressing and some really damaging thoughts, and it's if you've ever been in that type of mindset, really try and reflect and say, I've made it through everything in my life so far, and I'm still here fighting, and that's a huge win.
And that's another thing I really want to bring up. Just because something has always been like that, just because the place that you work at's always been a shithole, or the management's always been bad, doesn't mean that it still has to be, right? Like, just because you've had that in the past, like, you take that moment of self-reflection in the present right now, and you say, fuck that past, I'm moving forward now, because the future doesn't have to be like that anymore, right? Because when I think, and living in the past puts you on defense, right? Would you agree with that?
I would, 100%.
And, living in the now and almost just like trying to look the next couple 100 feet in front of you puts you on offense, because you're not really thinking about what's behind you. Like, yeah, I think we've all been there. We've all been teenagers, and, regardless of the severity of it, but, we've all had shit like that. But how you get through that, and, I mean, honestly, you want to know what it took? It took, like, just a couple weeks, maybe even a month of just actively trying to look at the positives and everything. Like, literally just, like, something shitty happens, you're like, okay, what's something good that happened, right? And sometimes you're right. Sometimes it's like, well, I have a job. Start naming things that you're thankful for. And that sounds ridiculous, but it's like, it works.
Let's, I don't remember what it was on. I think it was on either Facebook or it might have been LinkedIn. Like, people were talking about different things they do to keep that positive mindset. And someone was talking about they have, like, basically a journal where every morning, first thing they do when they wake up, in order to kind of set their mind right for the day, is they write down 3 things they're thankful for.
I've heard of
Wake
that.
up in the morning and write down 3 things you are thankful for to get your mindset right for the day.
Right.
And because it is so easy whenever something happens for your mind to default to the bad thing that just happened.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to struggle and look for that positive thing. I remember back probably 2013-ish, I was playing in a lacrosse tournament down in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a big national tournament, and a sports psychologist from Duke was there.
Okay.
And basically one of his big things is, and this is for student athletes, and it's for basically anyone, because it can be applied, is if something bad happens, think about it for roughly 3 seconds.
Yep.
Learn from it and move on, because you cannot be in the present, playing in the present as best as you can if you're still thinking about the past.
Right. Like, in soccer, my coach always say, you need to have short-term memory loss when you play soccer. Because if you get schooled and you want to sit there and kick the grass and be a little, whiny bitch because you just got schooled, like, what does that do? It does nothing. It works against you. You need to get back up, forget that you just got, like, megged or whatever, embarrassingly. Fuck that. You're going to go up there and you need to get that ball back from that, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And, like, that's a mentality. Yes, shitty things happen to people all the time, but it's how you react to it. If you want to react to something that, like, you wake up, stub your toe, that can set some people's whole day off.
Yeah.
Right? Not me. I'll stub my toe every day. Every day when I wake up.
Well, it's in a previous podcast we did when we were talking to Connor Henderson.
Yeah.
I brought up it's around 86,000 seconds that you have in a day.
Would you spend? What was it? It was
like
like
if you were given $86,000 every day and you dropped $20, would you be mad?
If someone stole 20,
Yeah.
would you spend the 86,000 to get that 20 back?
Basically, yeah.
And
it's about, we have 86,000 seconds in a day.
Yeah.
Would you let a bad 20 seconds, just take away that whole 86,000?
And it sounds ridiculous, but there's some people too that, like, they get almond milk in their coffee instead of freaking cashew milk or something, and it ruins their whole day. Like, honestly, like, when I do go buy coffee, it's like, yeah, just throw some caffeine in the cup and I'll be on my merry way. Like, but it's like stuff like that, like things that don't matter. Like, that doesn't matter. the majority of the things that you think matter really don't. Like what you get in your coffee, or you just got schooled on the field, or it doesn't matter whose fucking blame it is at work, right? Yeah. What can we do to fix it? That literally needs to be your default anytime you feel, okay, what can I do to fix it? If you react, like, that's what I started to do, man. Like, when I started to think something bad happened, like, okay, what could I do better next time? I wouldn't look at, like, this morning with that guy's tank and he got the bad fish. Like, I didn't look at that as a failure. I was just like, well, this is an opportunity to do something better.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to have to catch the fish, which sucks, but it's like...
it was one of those things, I was there, and it's one of those things, because I was there last week when we did, a lot of the maintenance, and we were talking about going up and getting fish, and we gave him some suggestions, and, you've obviously, a lot of the guys at the shop up in Syracuse, and, we kind of trusted the guys up there to, kind of show them the right fish to put in the tank, and, it was one of those things where, it's kind of, I want to transition into basically 3 big rules that I've kind of realized that really will help, myself as I move forward and help everyone else. And that's, rule number 1, don't expect anything from anyone.
Right.
And this really goes...
Perfect example.
Well, it's the thing, is,
I expected them to point him in the right direction.
And it goes with that blame game. If you don't expect people to act a certain way, or if you don't expect someone to do something, you basically put all the emphasis on yourself. And that can be, a lot of pressure to put on yourself. But, when you take that expectation and that blame off of everyone else, you're really left with, okay, what could I have done better? What didn't I do? And that's going to lead to a lot more self-improvement.
Right. That's what that does. And it's like, it's hard to get people, like, from that. By not expecting anything from anybody else, it puts more on you to make yourself better. Right, like, I feel like that's a huge point, and, like, we just need to take a second to, like, say that, because, like, by not expecting them for whatever, like, I've had great luck with them in the past. They've never steered any of my customers. It was just made to happen, right? I look at this situation as, well, perfect, but now it's like, I have to either send them up there with a list or something, by not expecting anything from anybody, it's exactly right. It forces you to improve yourself. And people look at that as a burden. Oh, I can't expect them. That falls back on me. Now I have another problem I got to deal with, another, situation I have to deal with. That's shit. No, that's negative. That is defense. You need to accept that. If you're doing that, then you need to do that in a positive way. Otherwise, it's just going to hurt. If you take a burden, take the blame, take a burden, that doesn't help you. Yeah, you need to take that in a positive way. Reaction
to kind of to go and off of because when you put all the emphasis on yourself, you put that weight on yourself, as you go down the line, you may see people start to almost take advantage of you and expect certain things from you. And if that's the case, in certain situations you may not be able to, but try and, eliminate those people from your life. Those people who are going to take advantage of your hard work and exploit you.
And expect something from you.
Those are the people that you need to cut out of your life. Those are the people that are, just going to feed off.
You don't necessarily have to cut them out. Maybe just, I heard a lot of people say, like, just spend less time with them, right? Instead of talking to your mom on the phone twice a day, call her once a week or something, because sometimes those are the people that have a very negative influence on your life. But yeah, continue. Sorry.
So, kind of the second rule here, and all 3 of these rules are tad redundant in, kind of, I guess, their overall emphasis, but they each have kind of their own little niche, I guess you'd say. And that's, we've been talking about this all show, and that's, don't blame other people for your situation. Right. Really look at the situation you're in, whether it's your job, whether it's, if you want to lose weight, you want to be a better athlete, whatever it is, don't blame other people for your situation. Take responsibility for your own actions, and if you really hate your job, do something to change the environment at your current workplace, or look for another job. Don't just sit there and complain about it.
Right. I've heard, shout out to my boy Gary Vee. I've heard him say, if anybody has come from a worse situation than you, but they're doing better than you right now, you have no fucking thing to complain about. It's like people have said, well, my car got repoed, or this happened, and then this happens. Like, okay, take your situation. If anybody has been in a worse situation than that, but now they're beating you, what do you have? What's your excuse? You have no excuse. So this is sort of a suffocation on excuses. By taking the accountability, it literally suffocates out all the excuses, and you're left with no option but to blame yourself and move forward. Or blame yourself and say, oh my gosh, this sucks, and continue to suck.
Exactly. And that's, if you really want something, you'll find a way to get it. If you don't, you will find an excuse.
No, I heard this quote that, like, and I could be way off, or not a quote, it was a stat. It was 90% of restaurants fail within the first 3 years. And it's like, I used to believe that. And now it's like, no, I believe 90% of the owners of those restaurants failed. Because if you want it, like, if your life depends on it, you'll make it work.
And that's, what? It's amazing. Like, I love the show Bar Rescue, if anyone ever watches that. And John Taffer does a great job, who's also, he's friends with Gary Vee. And it's,
he's there.
They go into these bars, and they're in fantastic locations, things like that are fine, but the things these owners do that just...
Execution's not there.
There's literally no execution.
Right.
As far as, they don't even do the simple things right, like keeping the place clean. The first thing he comes in and he's like, this place is fucking disgusting. It is filthy. There's cockroaches.
Right.
Just all that shit. It's like, you can't even clean the place right, and you expect... to be making money here? No, nobody's gonna come to a bar where they gotta sit on cockroaches.
Right, exactly.
So, so you gotta, do the simple things right.
And this is like nothing new. Like we're not like this isn't a groundbreaking podcast by any means. It's simply, there's hundreds, thousands of people that have had this realization. Like, this is no, like, new thing. It's just our interpretation on that. And I think this is really good to, like, relate it to as many different things as possible. Because I know, like, for me, no matter who says it, like, they say a theory, like, blame yourself. And you're like, for everything. I was like, well, how do you do that? Yeah. And by breaking it down, putting it in different situations, like, that's why I told my situation. And that's why you're, like, telling, the bar rescue and stuff. Because, like, when people have the context and they get a perspective from that, in different situations, your perspective's going to change. I believe that's the best way to sort of... view things, right?
Well, we were having that conversation earlier today about, like, almost hypotheticals, basically, where, something happens to somebody else, and you kind of, in your mind, you're like, well, I think I would react to it in this way. And, I've had this kind of realization that you can say in the moment, how you think you would react to certain situations, but unless you're actually put in those situations,
right,
you have no idea how you're actually going to react.
No idea.
Whether it's, a sports kind of thing, whether you think, you're playing Call of Duty and you're like, wow, if I went overseas, I'd kick ass,
Based on your perspective of it.
Yeah. But when, an actual grenade's going off 15 feet from you, I'm probably going to piss my pants.
Right, yeah. It's easy to say, yeah.
So it's easy to, say these concepts, and it's easy to listen to them, but it's a lot harder to put them into, real life action.
Right, absolutely.
But, so basically the last point, and, this is kind of really redundant of the first one, but it's, don't rely on other people. There's, don't have the expectations that someone's going to do this or that, but also just don't rely on other people.
Don't expect them to be there for you in an emotional way or something, right?
Not even just that, like, in any way, shape, or form, and that's, it's something, it kind of goes back to, like, I don't want to be a burden for other people, but, like, I don't want to have to rely on other people to do things for me. I want to be, it's kind of more about self-sufficiency, I guess, is last point, is,
right,
just rely on yourself.
Being self-sufficient, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think we beat this one to death, but, I mean, it's just a very interesting, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I haven't really been obsessing over, like, a topic like this since I started to really think about this, and it was until that moment hit. It was until that canopy situation where I was, like, literally up till 1 a.m. that night, like, fixing my mistake because I was, like, so embarrassed by it, but I was like, this is such a good learning experience. Like, it literally was like click. I was like, no shit. Like, this makes so much sense now. And if I didn't mistakenly blame the guy for doing something wrong, like, and that's how. And it's not literally, I'm responsible for people at work that I am not in charge of. If they kill a patient, that's not my fault. But what I would take from that situation is there anything I could have done to make this situation not happen? Or is there something that I can do now to make... You know what I'm saying? So It's like, what can we improve on? Being on offense. Because, if I can help save a life just by writing up a policy or doing more training with the staff, then absolutely I would do it. So, I think once you get that and, you get past it's not taking a burden on, right? Don't look at it as a burden. You're not taking fault. it's not like going to go on your permanent record that, oh, you fucked up and you